Good morning. Welcome to Caliente Topics. This is your daily tax webcast. We ask you to please subscribe, like, and share. My name is Veronica Russell from MMTAXMAN.com, along with Patrick Russell, EA from MMTAXMAN.com. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Veronica. All right, I got a pop quiz for you. How many years does the IRS have to add additional taxes to a person's tax returns once they file a tax return?
Seriously? 3 years.
All right, well, I just needed a segue to my next point. Thank you so much. Okay, very good. So 36 months, that's the statutes of limitations that we're working with in most cases for the IRS to have. That window that they have in order for them to assess additional taxes should they choose your tax return for examination and through the process of that audit and examination come to a conclusion that you owe additional taxes. Now, the reason why we're bringing that up is because we want to answer the question that people have as well. Generally speaking, how long does an audit last, right? And the reality is that it could last 30 days, or it could last up to whatever time is left before when you got that audit letter, which is generally speaking about 18 months after you filed your tax return. That's just the general window that the machine is working on currently from the time you file a tax return to the time where you receive that audit letter requesting that examination interview. It's usually about 18 months. So of the 36 months window that we're working with in this game, 18 months have already been passed by the processing and getting to the point of receiving that first letter. So it's why we go back to not to panic and that there's plenty of time when you receive that audit letter for us to consult you, gather the information, evidence, and documents you need to answer or be prepared for the audit, and then be ready to go with your best defense. Now, it also shows that it doesn't last forever. We don't have forever to begin communication with the auditor, setting up appointments with the auditor, and then setting up due dates for the submission of documents. And so, what are one of the things that we try to do to calm our clients down, Veronica, when it comes to when they receive a letter, how much time we usually take to gather the information so that we can then be prepared to move forward?
Definitely. So once you get the letter, you have 30 days. Eventually, obviously, the IRS understand that it takes about 15 days for the mail to work and then to deliver the letter. So potentially, you're looking at 45 days now. What happens if the letter got lost? Maybe you were not in town, and then when you came back, it was already 60 days.
Happens all the time.
Don't worry. If you have a tax specialist like us, forward the letter. We can still call the IRS and get an extension on the letter for, depending on the circumstances, we can always get it for you.
Very good. So now, if we're looking at it from the standpoint of your audit having about 18 months to complete before the deadline, the statutes of limitation ends for the auditor and being able to assess additional taxes. But then on the back end, as a taxpayer, it's also the due date, your final date for you to file a tax court case with the U.S. tax court system.
That's a big one.
And so if you're in a contentious audit like Mr. Donald J. Trump, I'm sure, has been in pretty much every year that his tax returns have been audited for, more than likely they have exceeded that 18-month window and had for either probably filed a lawsuit in order to extend that time. Now, filing that lawsuit will freeze that statutes of limitation window. So keep in mind, once you file that lawsuit, then the IRS and the auditor and the exam can take as long as necessary until they come to a settled conclusion.
Easy question for you, Patrick. So in this webcast, we're talking about getting an IRS audit letter, right?
Sure.
So in what other situation the 3 years apply when it comes to filing the taxes? Let's say that the client is not in the country. Let's say that the client just forgot to file taxes. Does that apply to that as well? Filing taxes, getting a refund for the 3 years limitation?
No, actually, you don't really. There are, not for the 3-year limitation. Let's be clear. As far as your ability to fight an audit, remember there's always the reconsideration. Okay, here's the other thing. Guys, every time I say that there's some type of due date or some type of expiration date, believe you me, built into the system, there's also always a recourse. There's always an appeal of some kind. There's always a reconsideration process that's involved. So there is that 18-month window, and we're making that known now simply because when you ask, well, how long can an audit go now? You have much more contents when we say, well, it just depends on how contentious the audit is, how available the auditor is, how quickly we can get documentations reviewed and processed and ready to... One more time?
How prepared the client is.
How prepared the client is as far as being able to give us those root documentations that are now going to be necessary above just a basic profit and loss.
Yep.
You're now going to need the source and root documents to go along with the curtains that were your tax returns. It's now time to prove those curtains. And so there's a lot of going back and forth that can sometimes happen in a contentious audit. That's just par for the course. And don't forget, the auditor has to think about managerial reviews. They have to think of audit reconsideration and appeals. All of this he's got to fit into in his mind, an 18-month window. So once again, don't panic. There's plenty of time to prepare. But we don't have forever.
Patrick, I know we can be here forever, but let's wait until tomorrow for another
Absolutely.
tax webcast. Thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Once again, guys, please use the comment boxes below. If you have a quick question, it's a great way to get a quick answer. Now, there's a lot of scenarios. I wanted to go into so many different scenarios, and I'm really trying to keep this very parsed and direct.
Yeah.
But there will be additional conversations in regards to what we were talking about before, statutes of limitations, how to file late tax returns, can I still get my refund? There's a few different approaches to that question, but this was the most basic one when it comes to your audit window.
Well, thanks, Patrick. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great day, guys.